view broadcast under the live broadcast. You must join the meeting through the link to participate during public comment. The town of Cedar Lake will accept public comment submitted electronically. If you have a question or comment about an item on the agenda, please email that question or comment to jill.muir@cedarlakein.org. Mrs. Muir will ensure that all submissions are shared with the utility board and that submissions will also be entered into the minutes of the meeting. Please keep your comments civil and constructive to the policy issues on the agenda. If we could all stand now for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jen, if we could have roll call, please.
Sorry.
Jill.
Okay. Robert Carnahan,
Here.
John Foreman,
Present.
Julie Rivera, here. Ralph Miller,
Present.
Randy Niemeyer,
Present.
Colleen Scheven,
Here.
Richard Sharp,
Here.
I'm present. Jill Murr, present. David Austin.
Okay, she's got that. We'll begin with the public hearing. PER SRF funding resolution 1261. Are the legals in order?
The legals in order. The public hearing may be conducted on record with the collection of notice.
Thank you, David. Opening remarks. Neil, if you could give us an opening remark for what we're doing, explanation of the PER.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. We have the PER for the 2020 Indiana Finance Authority State Revolving Fund Loan Financing. We used the 2010 report for the PER for 129th Avenue Water Main Extension as a basis to begin this PER. We've provided updates regarding the current projects for the IFA SRF funds and availability of those funds, which are expected within the next 6 to 18 months, depending on how they fund those through the state. And I've contacted Sue Hayes to confirm that. We have minor updates following this meeting for the inclusion of the PER for the resolution upon your consideration, the summary of the project cost in Appendix D, and the design summary. So the drafts you have in front of you are preliminary, and there will be some additional information included in those following tonight's meeting and what we include for those design summaries. The PER follows the requirements of the Indiana Finance Authority and State Revolving Loan Fund document. It's a 17-page document, and what's included in there covers everything that we have in here, and then we'll submit that following this meeting, including the summaries that we've provided that are required, and we'll be waiting for their comments, and we expect those comments within the next 30 to 45 days and an approval of the PER within 90 days. Hopefully less, but that's what our expectation is for the drinking water loan program. Any questions I may have to respond to you, or I'll defer to David to provide additional comments regarding the OUCC based on our recent IURC rate case. I'll entertain those right now.
Any questions for Neil?
I do not, sir.
No, I don't either. David, thanks, Neil.
Thank you.
This matters before you on the request of the OUCC that alternate financing method be considered in the process of our rate petition proceeding that is currently pending down in Indianapolis before the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission. The end result will be a comparison of this financing if in fact it's appropriate when we get to the end of the trail next February, March, versus traditional and standard financing in the municipal utility arena. So there'll be two paths that will be looked at, so that the rate may be assessed for the best rates to the customers and the lowest debt service responsibility on the capital that we're going to look at the bond.
Any questions for David? Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Thank you. Could we have the reading of resolution 1261? Read by title only, please.
Resolution 1261 is a resolution of the town of Cedar Lake, Lake County, Indiana, accepting and approving a report for the town water.
Now, remonstrators? Anything online, Jill, or? No, okay. No remonstrators? Utility board comments? John?
No, I do not.
Okay,
No, it's just so, since there's so many people here, a few years back, we tried to opt out of the IURC, Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission, and long story short, we weren't able to at the time, and therefore we have to spend all this extra taxpayer dollars to go downstate to Indianapolis, and the OUCC essentially wanted us to mandate that we try to have one more of a common rate for all utilities in town, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of the gist of what we're talking about.
And this process going through the IURC will cost us about an extra $300,000.
Unfortunately.
It's fabulous.
Which the ratepayers are going to have to pay.
Yep.
That's all I had. Thanks,
Okay.
Rick.
thank you. Anything else, Bob, Colleen, do you have anything?
Nope.
No,
Thank you. Yes,
Can we get the dating, the official dating on this report?
We will. It'll be submitted to the IURC, I'm sorry, the IFASRF within a week once we receive the resolution, and the term preliminary on the second page will be changed to final.
President, may I suggest that that documentation catches up to this reading, that the insertions be adjusted to make that, so we can have this as a clean document, not have to bring it back.
Very good.
But it's preliminary for final, and then the date,
Okay,
or final for preliminary, excuse me, and then the date.
thank you, David. Do we have a motion for the approval of resolution 1261?
I'll make a motion for the approval of resolution 1261 with the attorney's comments on record included in the motion.
I would second that motion.
Thank you, John. Randy made the motion, John seconded, Colleen. Jennifer.
Did you forget my name already? Jeez.
I didn't say.
You're not sitting by him anymore.
Robert Carnahan,
yes,
John Foreman,
Yes.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer,
Yes.
Colleen Scheven,
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Richard Sharp.
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Thank you, everybody. New business, approval of the minutes of June 16th, 2020.
I make a motion to accept and waive the reading of the minutes.
Thank you, Randy. Second,
I'll second.
thank you, Julie. Jennifer.
Robert Carnahan,
yes,
John Foreman,
Yes.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer,
Yes.
Colleen Scheven,
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Richard Sharp.
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Thank you. We move on to the written report, the fund report from our clerk treasurer, Jennifer.
I previously emailed you all of the updated reports, the same ones I've been sharing with you each month, the revenue reports, the expenditure reports. I summarize the June billing and receipting from June of 2019 as compared to June of 2020. Really the same as in the past months. Our utility collections, while down ever so slightly, we're really not seeing a large hit. I know coming up in the council meeting, we have a resolution to discuss the July penalties, so I kind of added July in there to kind of show you continuing by not applying penalties, what that's doing to our revenue as well.
Carl. And Carlin.
So I mean, if anybody has any questions, but kind of continuing the same as we've been doing the last few months, just keeping an eye on everything as we go through the pandemic and as we get updated revenue numbers and things from the state.
I don't have any questions.
Very good. Thanks.
I do, Jennifer, on, in red ink, non-residential drainage credits of $5,061.56. What is that about?
That is the 20% credit that you all agreed upon.
That's the
I'm
credit we
trying-
automatically give to businesses with more than one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I
Yeah,
just
shortly
wanted
after the
clarification.
increase. Anything else?
We got a lot of money in storm drainage, over $1 million.
That will all be spent.
Not for long,
I
Bob.
was gonna say,
Not for long.
projects are ongoing.
Okay.
We can move on to the consultant's report, engineer. Mr. Neal again, please.
Thank you. We will be brief on these items. The West Side Sanitary Sewer Interceptor is last month. We have permits in hand for IDEM and the railroad. For item 2, the East Side Sanitary Sewer Interceptor. Since the last meeting, we've received 65% of the total videos from Public Works, and they've been uploaded to our FTP site. The SSES, that's next on their list, and I'm sure Tim will comment on that later. Once they complete the east side, they'll move on to the SSES, which is generally on the west side of town, the Lowerman and upstream of their interceptor. For the Utopia subdivision water main replacement, we have survey completed 75%. Public Works has our list and the map of the locations for the mains, and they're working on supplementing what we've been able to determine with what they have. And they'll get those back to us and we'll complete our survey. And we submitted additional data to them today, and I'm sure they haven't received it because it was just this afternoon, but they'll proceed with that in terms of locating the B boxes, the valves, the hydrants in that subdivision that we're working on. Any questions?
Any questions for Neil? No? Thank you, Neil.
Thank you so much.
Director?
I do have one question, Mr. President.
Yeah.
The location of the tower.
Yes.
Have we pinpointed that yet?
It has been relocated
Okay.
on paper.
Gotcha.
And once the issues are squared away with your initial agenda item number 1, and we go through
Okay.
the response from the OUCC and the IURC rate case, then we can prepare that, modify the plans, which do have an item approval for the construction permit from 2018. And I talked to the gal who takes care of that down in Indy, and she said, just send us an updated plat of where you're looking to put that, and we'll issue a modification to the permit, which is something we discussed with the residents out in the field, and we had discussed at previous meetings.
Good
So
enough.
that's been taken care of.
Okay.
The additional soil borings have been done, and that revised location is acceptable in terms of a location for that water tower.
Okay,
Very
thank you.
good.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
President.
Thank you.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
Director of Operations, Tim?
Good evening.
Understand we had a lightning strike not too long.
Yeah, the 10th, Friday evening, both pumps got burnt out at the Havenwood pumping station. Happened to be Ryan Kuiper's, the water superintendent's, first day of vacation that he was gone. So it was quite interesting. Brandon, the foreman of the water department, he was able to contact Workman and took care of, they came out on Saturday, Sunday, got everything up and running. Still got a couple electrical issues that they're straightening out, but was able to keep everything operational and going and good. So
Very good.
it was pretty much without incident. It was a pretty big incident, but
Yeah.
it all went off pretty well. So
You let your guys take vacation?
once in a while, yeah.
Man, you're a nice guy.
All went good though, so water is going again. With that, came up that we really need to look into creating a schedule for sprinkling that odd and even addresses or every other day or something to that nature, because when that did go off Saturday morning, it takes, early in the mornings, it takes 3 well pumps to keep the tower sustained at a level. So when all those sprinklers are going at the same time, it's a pretty high demand. And in that case, we only had 2. So it's something that we really need to look forward doing in the immediate future, just something to alternate days or something, so everybody's not doing that at the same time.
Can you get us like a recommendation of what you would like
Yeah.
to see done from your water department? That way we're acting on data that they can work with.
Yep.
Yeah, it's absolutely pretty common in most communities you go to, so.
It'd be a good thing for us just to do, early.
Good conservation habits.
Yeah, just that seeing it there, be a good thing to get in place before it becomes a necessity. So.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Okay, and the only other thing is the guys did get the video in the rough terrain area of the east side. They went out and cleared the whole line that goes through the woods, and we're able to get all that video done, and plus the maintenance of all that whole interceptor line that goes off road is all cleared now. So
awesome.
That's
Cool.
a good step.
Good, that's really good, yeah. Okay.
That's all I have. Do you have any other questions?
Nope.
Any questions? No questions. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Town Administrator, Jill.
Tagging on what Tim just reported to you, I would say the recommendation on the sprinkling could be even addresses, even days, odd addresses, odd days. Many communities do that. That way they can set their sprinkler systems to that.
From what dates? You want to do Memorial to Labor?
Memorial Day to Labor Day, Tim?
Very common.
Very common.
And I think it would be good to get a recommendation
Okay,
from
we can wait.
Ryan,
Okay.
2 weeks.
I agree.
because he's looking at the stuff every day.
And then the only other item is the JMOB meeting. I am currently trying to find dates where everyone would be available. It will be an evening meeting, so trying to do that between us having opposite meeting schedules with many of the council members in Lowell and,
We also need to get that
and a joint
joint
meeting.
meeting with Lake Dale put together.
And that was going to be the other thing, is that kind of went by the wayside with COVID, so we'll get that back on the books.
Well,
As
COVID's
well
gone now that
as
we're
the
wearing
other one
masks,
you were
so
going
we're
to
good.
have was
That's
an
right.
open
It's
house,
history.
an open
got it,
house
yeah.
on the water rates. Did you want to get that scheduled for this fall?
What's that?
You're going to have an open house with consultants here to discuss the water rates.
I think once
What's
we get a couple of things submitted, get past that hearing date and have some solid idea of where we're going,
Okay.
that would be the time to schedule it.
Yes.
Rick, would you agree?
I would hope early September if possible.
I would hope sometime this fall,
Yeah.
Yeah.
October, November,
Okay.
early September is when our hearing is, so.
Makes sense.
We'll do that.
That'd be great, yeah.
I just want to make sure we got those all reported, that we're still working on those.
Very
That's all I
good.
have.
Thank you, Jill.
Thanks, Joe.
David, any report?
Nothing other than your proceedings still continue pending after. Really daily on all the details of that.
Very good. Thank you. Jill's given us our JMOB report. We'll move on to public comment. Any public comment? Public comment? Anything online, Jill? No? Okay, with no public comment, this meeting is adjourned. Our next meeting is Tuesday, August 18th, 2020 at 6:30 PM. And we'll move into the town council meeting shortly. Thank you.
Thank you. We can have that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the short book. Yeah. Yeah, I understand.
I almost got it. You have your report for me? I got my notes in. Thank you, Neil. David, you get David one?
Are you me today, Carl? I had to move her. They can't hear me. Or nobody can see me.
Makes me look better. doesn't it? The mask makes me look better. I told Frank I'm color coordinating with my clothes.
Yeah, all my fabric masks are like cheetah print, stars. So I wanted to do
Meeting is called to order. This is a town council public meeting for July 21st, 2020. In accordance with the governor's executive order relating to COVID-19, in-person attendance of tonight's town council meeting will be limited. We've arranged a live stream of the meeting so those interested can view it from home. The meeting is slated to start at 7 p.m. You can view the meeting via our website at cedarlakein.org/view-town-meeting/ and click on view broadcast under the live broadcast. You must join the meeting through the link to participate during public comment. Town of Cedar Lake will accept public comment submitted electronically. If you have a question or comment about an item on the agenda, please email that question or comment to jill.murr@cedarlakein.org. Mrs. Murr will ensure that all submissions are shared with the elected officials of the town and that the submission will also be entered into the minutes of the meeting. Please keep your comments civil and constructive to the policy issues on the agenda. Father John, would you offer us another prayer to start the council meeting, please?
Let us pray. Lord Jesus, we come before you as humble servants this night. We ask you to send your spirit of peace, comfort, of joy, of wisdom and understanding upon the council members gathered here and remotely. We ask you to bless our town, all who care for her and her citizens. We ask all of this in the name of Jesus our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Father John.
Thank you, Father John.
Start with the, we had the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll do it again. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance followed by a moment of silence.
Yeah, and Randy, I'd just like, for the moment of silence, I'd just like to make a couple things. We recently lost a commander from the American Legion, Kenny Roberts. He's a longtime resident of town. And also there was a recent business owner that passed away. He had now lived in Florida. His mom was my 5th grade teacher, Mrs. Jackson. His name was Don Jackson. He owned Jackson Auto on the west side of town. And he was always a community-minded guy, so keep him here. Both of those folks in our prayers as well.
Bob, would you lead the pledge?
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Robert Carnahan,
Here.
John Foreman,
Present.
Ralph Miller,
Present.
Colleen Sheehan,
Here.
Richard Sharp,
Here.
Julie Rivera, here, Randy Niemeyer.
Present.
I am present. Jill Murr, David Austin.
We have a quorum. Start tonight with public comment on agenda items. Is there public comment on agenda items? Second call, public comment. Third call, anything online, Jill? Thank you. So we start this evening with Hanover Boys Basketball Proclamation. We have some people gathered in the back of the room. I have a proclamation I'm going to read honoring, this is titled Town Year 2020 Community Congratulation Proclamation and Presentation to Hanover Central School High School Boys Basketball for 2018-19 and 2019 and 2020. It lists the team members' names of the 2018 and 19 team and the 2019 and 2020 teams. Cameron Ludwig, TJ Burt, Joey Glidewell, Brett Mathies, Dylan Kuntz, Luke Barrich, Cole Popko, Chris Roop, Brendan Bonner, Ryan Reskowski, Dominic Lucido. For the 2019-2020 team, Cameron Ludwig, TJ Burt, Joey Glidewell, Sam Hinojosa, Dominic Lucido, Antonio Gonzalez, Gunnar Howes, Chris Roop, Brendan Bonner, Josh Austin, Landon Babuziak, and Nick Holden. Coach of the varsity team is Brian Klaus, varsity assistant Jake Veman, JV coach Bobby McClelland, freshman coach Andrew Miller, student managers Jabari Anglin, Will McBrayer, Nathan Splant, Caleb Lindemulder, and Hunter Ludwig. I'll read the proclamation now. The Town Council of Cedar Lake and all citizen residents of this community rise tonight to congratulate the student athlete members of the Hanover Central High School boys basketball teams on the incredible accomplishments and success achieved by these representatives of our town. The acclaimed sports writer Grantland Rice wrote of such outstanding and immortal success when he wrote on October 18th, 1924, in the New York Herald Tribune following the defeat of Army by Notre Dame football, that, quote, "A cyclone can't be snared. It must be surrounded, but somewhere it breaks through to keep going. Then the cyclone starts from Cedar Lake, where the candle lights still gleam through the Indiana sycamores. Those in the way must take to storm cellars at top speed." Cedar Lake was changed from South Bend. In similar fashion, our Hanover Central High School boys basketball teams in 2018-19 and 2019-20 are that cyclone, unable to be snared, always going forward and causing those in the way to take to the storm cellars at top speed. What a team, and what representatives of this town and community. In 2018 and 19 and 2019 and 2020, they were the state tournament sectional winners back-to-back for the first time in school history. In 2019-2020, their record of 24 wins and 2 losses was a school record. In 2019-2020, they were the Greater South Shore Conference champions with 7 wins and 0 losses. In 2019-2020, Coach Brian Klaus was named the Post-Tribune Coach of the Year. In 2019-2020, Dominic Lucido was named an IBCA Academic All-State member. Their team success, this shows their dominance. They averaged 63.6 points per game while only allowing 42.8 points per game. They lost the opportunity to finish the tournament from 2019-2020 due to COVID-19 circumstances. And they joined the 1985-86 team, which Mr. Foreman was a member of, as the only sectional winners in school history.
Fire Chief Todd Wilken.
And I'm sorry, Todd, I didn't see you there. You were hiding. The Town Council of the Town of Cedar Lake, on the report and information of unparalleled success of the Hanover Central High School boys basketball team in the 2018, 2019, and 2019-2020 school years, congratulates to these students and athletes and their school community on these accomplishments, and now hereby declares July 21st, 2020 as the Hanover Central High School 2018, 2019, and 2019-2020 Congratulations and Recognition Day in the town of Cedar Lake. These young men provide our community the light and the way into the future. So declared this 21st day of July, 2020. So we have honored guests with us this evening. Coach Klaus, would you care to come forward? If your team could come forward too, so we could give them a round of applause.
And I want to know where Dominic and
This is-
Roop and.
We're going to be
those
signing
guys,
this. It's going to take a couple days because we don't have all of our members here. But we'll give you a copy of this, a signed copy by all the members, so you can put in your trophy case. But I'd like the whole audience to stand and give a round of applause to all these fine gentlemen.
So who's taking a photo?
So
Who's got a better camera than I? I have an iPhone 5. Okay. Okay, Joanne, take it, please. Randy, get your mug out of the back.
I'm getting out of there. My pleasure.
You got it. All right. Guys, great job, man. Randy, good job. Handshake, boys. We're expecting a third one next year, just so you know. No pressure, but we're expecting a third one.
What you
Okay.
feel about them and
Keep it up.
some optimism maybe for next year and
Because they gotta have much.
just a few words. If you could go right up to the mic and speak this way.
No, basketball coaches don't need microphones.
I've heard you from the stands on the other side.
I don't really need this.
That's okay. Go ahead.
We just want to thank everybody for having us. It was obviously a great season that we had the last 2 years. And the 2 years ago, 18-19 was more of a shock because we hadn't done it as a school in so long. But this year, people kind of expected it, and you felt that the celebration was a little different too, which is fine, because we want to win bigger and better things. So very appreciative of the town. You see a lot of people in the town, the pride of the community coming through, and I see a lot of faces in here who are at the games, and very, very awesome for us to see as a team and the coaches to see the support that we get from the community. As we look to the future, we have a pretty good team coming back again, and a couple of kids coming back who haven't played basketball in the last year or two that are going to help us. We've got a lot of size, we've got shooters, we've got ball handlers, so the expectations would be, again, another sectional championship and moving forward for the next year, conference championship and all that. Not to put too much pressure on these guys, but that's just the facts. If it wasn't going to be that much talent coming back, then I wouldn't tell you guys that. But I would expect to see us, maybe not 24-2, I'll cut them down a little bit, but definitely some championships coming back here again next year. So thank you again for having us tonight. I appreciate it.
Hey, Joey Glidewell. How many shots did you shoot today, Joey? How many shots did you shoot today in the driveway? Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
So I want to just say a few words. I went to almost every game, home and away. Really enjoyed watching this group of young men compete, and they are competitors. They went through a lot of injuries this year. It seemed like when one person got healthy, another one went down. But coach and his program was able to always have somebody step up next. And that was what was so cool, that when Nick Holden, the skinny kid, came in the game and started hitting 3-pointers, nobody really expected that. But it was just an example of a true team from top to bottom, from player number one to the end of the bench. Everybody contributed. It's a testament to Hanover Central school system, their coaching staff, their teachers, their administration, that they've been able to put together a culture like that. I attended Hanover, and we always had kind of a loser culture back then. Although the teams I played on had winning records, there was never that feeling of expectations of championships. I think that this team, if they would have had a chance to complete the tournament this year, they would have shocked the world and won the regional. I saw you guys coming together. Everything was starting to click. The defense was unbelievable. I grew up a fan of Indiana basketball and Coach Knight, so I took great pride in watching the tenacious defense you guys played. And I was looking forward to a matchup in Indianapolis of Hanover Central versus Silver Creek this year. And I'm looking forward to seeing that next year, because I want to see Babuziak go up against Trey Kaufman one-on-one. That would be a lot of fun to watch. So congratulations to you guys. Thank you for what you've done in changing the culture in our community and at Hanover basketball to that of expecting to win. And we are very proud of you. And I'm proud to be a Hanover grad and have the opportunity to watch this team. It's my wife and my daughter, I don't think, like to sit by me too much, because I'm kind of a boisterous fan, and they get a little, but I do appreciate the joy that we've been able to all get as a community from watching the young men grow and play together and work as a team. So, Council, anybody else have any comments?
No, I'd just like to say I would agree with what Randy's saying, and work hard this summer. 100 free throws a day, 100 or 200 jump shots a day. Maybe run up and down your driveway, run up and down your neighbor's hill. And,
I think he's talking to you, Joey.
That's all I got. Thanks, guys.
Hey, Coach, would you take an unsigned copy with you and make sure that we've got all the names? And if I left anybody out, email me, so we can update it, make sure we have the right signed copy. Okay?
Randy, you gonna go to the school board and ask if we can hang this on the hallway?
Now I'll go and buy them a frame, and that way they can do with it what they want
There you go.
and put it where they want. So thank you all very much.
Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Council members, everybody will need to sign this.
You got it.
Okey-doke.
All right, so we'll start with our consent agenda, which is the minutes of the June 16, 2020 meeting. Claims, all town funds, $614,409.84. Wastewater operating, $31,442.49. Water utility, $76,781.61. Stormwater, $16,554.77. And payroll, July 9th, 2020, $274,564.50. We have the manual journal entries for June 1 through 30, 2020. Donations to DARE program. Christopher B. Burke, $100. Schilling Brothers Lumber and Hardware, $250. Tag Day request, Hanover Central High School cheer, October 3rd with the rain date of October 10th. And Fraternal Order of Eagles, number 2529, Make-A-Wish Car Show, grounds and fee waiver request, September 2020. Motion to accept and waive the reading of the minutes and accept the consent agenda as listed.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Foreman, a second by Mr. Sharp. Are there questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan,
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben,
Yes.
Richard Sharp, Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Randy Neiman.
Yes. Motion carries 7-0. Ordinances and resolutions. Item 1 is ordinance number 1355, emergency response reimbursement repeal ordinance. The first reading was July 7th, 2020. Ms. Rivera, if you would read the second reading by its title only, please.
Town of Cedar Lake, Lake County, Indiana, ordinance number 1355, an ordinance repealing Town Code Section 35.01 entitled Fire Department Service Charge Established and Town Code Section 35.02 entitled Itemization Limit on Charge and all matters related thereto.
Thank you. You've heard the second reading of ordinance 1355, the repealer ordinance. Is there a motion by the council to adopt ordinance 1355?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Miller. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Rivera. Is there questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan,
No.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben,
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Randy Neiman.
Yes, motion carries 6-1. Ordinance is adopted. Item 2 is ordinance 1358, job description amendment. Ms. Rivera, by its title only, please. Ms. Murray, an explanation.
Ordinance number 1358, an ordinance amending Town Ordinance number 1150, being an ordinance establishing job employment descriptions for all the employees of the Town of Cedar Lake, repealing all ordinances and Town Code sections or portions thereof in conflict therewith, including Town Ordinance number 1274 and all matters related hereto, adding the job descriptions of utility accounting specialist and technology director, job positions for the town, and all matters related thereto.
Thank you.
Council, these job description amendments are adding new positions to the town. Directed at your last meeting was a part-time position, which is the utility accounting specialist. This is the job description to go along with that, as well as adding in a technology director. This was discussed last year during budget. And the job description to go along with that. That technology director position would also include some coordination on routine maintenance and assistance on those matters, a single point of contact.
This will be for Sue Hayes and Cliff Rowe.
No idea, Bob.
Jill?
It was directed at the last meeting for the part-time person. The other one, I need a job description and salary ordinance. There was an offer made to someone, but until the position is here, I can't confirm that.
Okay.
Okay.
And just to be clear, the utility accounting specialist, that is a part-time job with no benefits,
Correct.
correct?
And that position, when you get to your salary ordinance, is all utility related.
And do we know how many hours per week?
Currently working on your IURC rate case, so it could
Mhm.
vary
So it's as needed and it's
as
not-
needed. It's an as needed position.
Any other questions for town administrator?
The technology director position, Jill, is this something that could be deferred? Or do you recommend moving forward with it or?
Adding the job description without a salary, you can add the job description. We can fill it whenever, but without a salary, I can't pay a position.
So is this up to that amount or is this?
That's in the next ordinance.
I see.
This is just the
This is
job
just creating the job
description,
description.
Yeah, correct.
outlining the duties of that
Gotcha.
that
Okay,
position.
thank you very much.
Okay. Is there a motion by the council on the first reading of ordinance 1358, job description amendment?
So move.
That motion for approval, Bob?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Miller. Questions or discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan,
Yes.
John Foreman,
No.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben,
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
Julie Rivera,
No.
Randy Niemeyer.
Yes, motion carries 5-2. We will have the second reading at the next meeting. Item 3 is ordinance 1357, 2020 salary ordinance amendment. Ms. Rivera, by its title only, please.
Ordinance number 1357, an ordinance amending town salary ordinance number 1344, establishing jobs and salaries to be paid by certain offices, positions, and jobs within the town of Cedar Lake for the calendar year of 2020, and repealing all ordinances or parts thereof in conflict herewith.
Ms. Murr?
Council has discussed with the job description. This is the salary going along with the job description ordinance. The utility accounting specialist, part-time hourly at a rate of $100 per hour. Payable 34% wastewater, 33% water, and 33% stormwater.
Just to make a quick note on that rate, because that's not something we normally pay a person in town, that the normal rate that we paid for that person when she was with the consulting firm was $300 an hour. So it's a pretty substantial savings for a very skilled position as basically a on-staff consultant. And that's the same money we pay to our attorney firm too. Thank you.
And your technology director, a salaried exempt position, and that would be a not to exceed $2,500 biweekly, payable 25% from each of the general fund, wastewater, water, and stormwater.
Thank you. Any questions by the council for Ms. Murr?
Again, it'll be not to exceed, right?
Yes, not to exceed.
I'll make a quick statement that I feel like we need to address a little bit of inequity in our current salary structure as it relates to our leadership team. Some time ago, we raised the pay of the police chief to $70,000. I would like to see that same number be offered to our fire chief. I think it's important to have our leadership in a certain position in the hierarchy of salaries. Our fire chief has been an employee of the town since 2013, a chief that entire time. Before that, chief of the volunteer company. So I feel that there's a need to address a little bit of inequity there. As we bring on a IT specialist, I don't think it would be prudent to be paying that person more than a department head that they might be working under supervision of for certain things. So that's my comment on the ordinance.
Absolutely. But is that something we can amend this ordinance to include and or?
Yeah, I think you could make it a part of a motion, and then it can be included in the second reading as the amended ordinance, the amended ordinance.
Yeah.
I need this a little more clear. So I agree with raising Todd's pay. I wish we could raise it more. I'd like to raise it a little more. I want to raise Todd's pay. I don't agree with the technology director. I don't think this is the time to be bringing on someone full-time at that rate of pay with salary, with benefits. Because there's people in town that need their salaries raised right now without bringing someone upwards of $60,000 a year. I don't think it's the right time. 60 to 65,000 a year is like 85,000 with benefits. And I think that money could be well spent, better put towards our employees that are lacking.
Jill, can you explain
salary.
a little bit about the breakdown of how the technology director might be paid?
The technology director, I believe some of the positions you're referring to are public safety positions that are all general fund, so 100% general fund. This is only a 25% general fund position. That position was actually budgeted this year. The dollars are available in that budget. So at the max salary here, that would be $16,000 a year coming out of the general fund for the salary. The 3 utilities would also be part of that. That would help out with anytime we have issues with Neptune and the meter read, any of those other utility issues and programming, as well as your utility accounting specialist, and some of that will be remote work and joining in on that.
And what about building department? Can he help out there?
He could help out there.
And-
Some of that help would actually be with the building department and the access database they use that we don't pay a fee for software to use. Some of the reports that have been being asked for when properties come off and get their building permits, when are they going to roll on to our tax rolls? How long does it take until we collect that? Those are some of the information we currently can't pull out of the program. John, you've been here with Michelle when we're trying to do some of those numbers, and we're literally taking a report and going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
All right.
That's some of the stuff that
What
could be developed.
What about fire and police?
Fire and police.
Besides IT side of it, because we do have some consultants that help us quite nicely. Do we have abilities for him or her to
One of the
assist
things
with fire and police?
One of the things on fire, the person being considered for this position is already familiar with the software they use. So if there were any issues with that software or random calendar invites going out, when we switch over to new computer systems as well, one of the things, keypads, cost saving measures, paying a vendor $350 to change. You all know the door key fobs, swipers, paying a vendor $350 for that, and the part alone we could have gotten for $50 and had a person install it. So there are some cost saving measures, and as well as increased transparency, putting documents online, those type of items, having someone on staff to do that, maintain the website, increase website speeds, those type of things where I can take some of that off of what my assistant's doing and put it on someone else who's on staff to do that for us. If you call a special meeting, having someone on staff. Additionally, the person we were looking at for the technology director is currently an employee and has been an employee with the town for about 20 years and is a local resident. So part of that is a promotion, an internal promotion to a full-time position with our community. And he is also a reserve officer. So if anything should ever happen in the community, he could switch his hat and fill that role of a reserve officer.
Yeah, there's a lot of value, and I think it's important to note what Julie said. I mean, this is something we've been trying to tackle the entire year. It's been a focal point from January 1st is to look at ways to beef up our public safety pay scale.
Absolutely.
And so that can't be lost in any of this discussion is the need for that continued focus. I know we still have more work to do to put a dent in it the way we want to. And while $16,000 out of the general fund doesn't necessarily put a dent in it, it's still worth discussing and debating, making sure that we still have our eyes focused on that ball, because it's not getting any easier for our public safety chiefs to continue to staff the departments in today's environment of negativity towards first responders. So
absolutely,
that's an important note.
So Mr. Chairman, you had made a comment earlier about the amending of this ordinance to increase the fire chief salary to $70K.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's something that through a motion, we could add to it, and then on a second reading, it could be codified and then adopted.
We
I'd
would
like to
need
make
to-
that motion if you are ready, sir.
Anytime, John, the floor is yours.
I would like to make a motion for ordinance number 1357, the 2020 salary ordinance amendment, with an amendment to the amendment, as Mr. Chairman had said earlier, to increase the fire chief's salary to the $70,000.
Thank you, Mr. Foreman. There's a motion by Mr. Foreman. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I'll second.
There's a second by Mr. Miller. Sorry, Colleen. We'll get you on the next one. There's a second by Mr. Miller. Are there questions or discussion further?
I just want to say I totally am against the technology director part of this. But for Chief Wilkening's raise, of course, and utility specialist.
Okay,
So I would like to, we could separate those by amending the agenda to put Chief Wilkening's salary.
But
right. We'd have to have a separate ordinance. Right.
And again, Julie, if I may, if as Jill had mentioned, if he's able to, or she's able to help out with the police, the fire, the building department, we know we're definitely a bit short-staffed. So I absolutely hear what you're saying. Our IT group that we're working with today, I don't foresee them going away in any way, shape, or form. I feel as though this is a building block onto future things, such as work orders, more electronic data, less entry, easier for the guys to operate, manage, et cetera. So I think that there's some definite
There's
assets
value to
within
it, but I
fire,
think
police, as well as
the
building.
timing's
So,
off.
but I think the timing is terrible.
I
agree.
totally agree with you that this person would be able to help with all of the reports, and that's what we're looking for. At the safety meeting, we came up with the fire and the police about the reporting that they're going to have to do. To me, a lot of this can be referred to our new IT person, and like here, Todd, they could help you generate all of those reports.
And I would also like to add that rather than call it IT person, it's called technology director here. We need to massage it over the next 6 months to a year to help shape and fit our needs.
Yeah.
So I'll keep my motion as is.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Foreman, a second by Mr. Miller. Any other questions or discussion?
Mr.
Ms. Murr?
President, for the salary ordinance, we would need to put in the biweekly equivalent of that. So we will calculate out what that biweekly equivalent is on $70,000, because in the off chance there's a 27th pay, we need to make sure he gets paid for that 27th week.
Fair enough. I concur.
You concur, Ralph? Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Robert Carnahan,
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Scheven,
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yeah.
Julie Rivera,
No.
Randy Niemeyer.
Yes, motion carries 6-1. We will have the second reading at the next meeting. And with the amended amendment. Thank you. Item number 4 is Resolution 1262, Utility Waiver of Late Fees. Ms. Rivera, by its title only. Ms. Murr, an explanation, please.
Resolution number 1262, a resolution declaring an emergency and approving waiver of late charge fees to residents, utility ratepayers in the town of Cedar Lake on monthly utility billings and invoices required by applicable ordinances establishing such rates and charges pursuant to Executive Order 20-36 issued by Eric J. Holcomb, Governor of Indiana, dated July 16, 2020, and all succeeding executive orders of the governor, and as of the same remains in force, in whole or in part, thereafter, and all matters related thereto.
Thank you very much. Ms. Murr?
Council, previously you had approved the waiver of late fees on the utility bills up to and including the end of June following the executive orders. The executive orders have been continued, one for the no shutoffs, but the IURC on a regulated utility such as our water utility has extended no late fees through August 14th. So this resolution here extends those dates, and then we'll follow all of the current governor's orders and guidelines such as that. So that way we can continue to waive those fees. So we will be waiving the late fees on the utilities for July.
Thank you.
with your approval.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
I would make a motion to approve resolution 1262, utility waiver of late fees.
second.
Second by Colleen. Thank you. We got in fast. A motion by Mr. Foreman, second by Ms. Sheben. Questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Robert Carnahan,
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben,
Yes.
Yes.
Julia Rivera,
Yes.
Randy Neimeyer.
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Item 1 on plan, Beacon Point East rezone to PUD certification. Ms. Murr?
Mr. President, at your last Plan Commission meeting, they approved and certify Beacon Point East, rezoning it to a PUD. The certification is here. It is recommended that you authorize town staff and the town attorney to draft the rezone ordinance. There are several requirements with the PUD, and that ordinance is not ready for your consideration this evening. So accepting the certification and directing the ordinance to be prepared for your next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion by the council on the recommendation of the town administrator?
So moved.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Foreman. Bob, you want the second?
Sure.
Second by Mr. Carnahan. Questions or discussion?
Yeah, I would just like to add that everybody out in the audience and out watching on virtual, that this Beacon Point East property was once upon a time Union Station with nothing but apartments, over 400, I believe. So they've reduced the zoning tremendously to create another single-family home / cottage home / unfortunately, I hate to say it, duplex home in our community. So it's
Paired
less
villas,
density.
John? Paired villas?
Thank you very much. Is it 2020?
It is.
Thank you.
But also, the residents had a lot of input into this, which I was very appreciative of.
Agreed. Concur.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion on the motion? Roll call, please.
Robert Carnahan,
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben,
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
Julia Rivera,
Yes.
Randy Neimeyer.
Yes, motion carries 7-0. New business, item 1 is Wicker Meadows Stormwater. Ms. Murr?
Council, the Wicker Meadows stormwater matter has been an item in front of you for many years. At this point, we are ready to prepare the letter that was requested by a resident in that subdivision. It is recommended that you have the attorney prepare that letter stating that the property meets the stormwater requirements of the town based on review and analysis by your engineer.
Does
Okay.
that also include a letter of the property to the west of that house?
We could, yes.
So that letter would be the public record document that if a resident in that area that used to sit in a flooded area sells their home, they can be totally transparent and honest with the buyer, say, listen, the town has checked off on this, it meets the standards. It doesn't affect the value of the home.
I will refer you to your town attorney on that question.
I understand.
Reviewed and analyzed applicable standards, criteria, stormwater conditions, property finding,
Okay. No, that's good. That's something that will help. Yeah. But it'll help the residents to be able to have a little bit of peace of mind to know that the town is checking off on this and we're backing it up.
And also upon approval, authorizing the council president to sign the letters once they are drafted by your attorney.
Okay. Is there a motion on the administrator's recommendation?
I'd make a motion on administrator's recommendation with the approval of the town president to sign the document.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Foreman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sharp. John, I just saw that you've given the motion on the last 4 items. You're on a roll.
I'm on a roll.
Any questions or discussion on the motion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan,
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Scheven,
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Randy Neimeyer.
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Item 2 is a Hill Tavern request. Ms. Murr? Jill, you first. Sorry,
We have
ma'am.
received a request from the Samaras to put an outdoor patio area for their bar and also requesting permission to have the patio area by July 25th for a benefit bike run. At least one of the 3 of the Samaras are in attendance and
Okay.
could fill you in on more.
Ms. Samara, would you come forward if the council has any questions?
Marie Samara, owner. Our request is for Saturday for the temporary, but because of COVID, we'd like to have the temporary be throughout the rest of the year, and we'll work on permanent outdoor seating.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Samara? The question I have is, this seems like it'd be a building department item. Mr. Austin, can you speak to that?
But it's similar to the town club, what they have.
Seasonal outdoor permit for town club due to COVID, so they can have some space.
Gotcha. So what they set up picnic tables and stuff
They
out
set
there?
up some picnic tables. It is a fenced off area. They have only one way in, one way out.
So this would be similar to that?
Yes.
What would the layout of it be?
I have a
Perhaps.
picture. I took pictures if you want to see it.
Yeah, that'd be great. Help to illustrate a little bit. Because I think in order to make something like this permanent, there would have to be something in front of the plan commission
That
or the
would be
building
like next
department.
year, but
Okay. Okay, so that's really totally behind the building. Gotcha. You want to kind of walk that down so everybody can kind of take a look?
Yeah, yeah.
Essentially, just a picnic area, basically.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And we're gonna do the same thing like Town Club did with the 2 fences?
yeah, it already came out.
Okay. This is a presentation of the Hill Tavern request for outdoor seating on a temporary basis through the end of, it'll be through the end of the year, ma'am?
Yes, please.
Through the end of the year is her request. Is there a motion by the council on the request of the petitioner?
So moved.
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Mr. Miller. There's a second by Ms. Sheben. Questions or discussion? Would you come forward so that everybody can hear you on Zoom, Tim? Thank you.
My question is just, is there gonna be some type of size or limit of number of people on this patio, or is it free for all? I mean, is it 25, 30 people, or 100, or like?
For this Saturday, we think there's gonna be about 100. There's a guy, the trainer, and veteran, so they're having something, but other than that, it's just one.
I mean, that's just my concern, is the amount of parking there, and a super large amount of people is a recipe for catastrophe. So I just want to make sure that, I mean, if there's going to be 100 people there, I don't know what kind of crowd control or police presence or what's going to be happening, but there's not a lot of area to park and conduct, I mean, that amount of people. The town club has a fenced in area. They got parking space for 15, 20 cars. It's very, regulated, but that's just a concern. I don't know, just something put in an amount or whatever, or.
When the town club made the request to us, did they include parameters in the size? I can't remember.
They put in a fence, the size of the fenced area, I think it was 20 by 30, and then
Gotcha.
somebody recommended the 6 foot.
Yeah, that barrier fence so people couldn't reach over with alcohol. Yeah.
I don't know if Carl has anything, but that's just a concern I have is without any type of number of people, it's hard for anybody to regulate what's going on.
Chief, if you could grab that microphone so everybody on Zoom can hear you.
We're gonna have to take a look at a few of these. The town club got asked earlier, but we have to figure out the occupancy load based upon the square footage of your actual area, so that we can tell you exactly how many people can be in there with seating. And also with the COVID thing, you have to do social distancing. We have had one complaint against it already. So we want to make sure that you're, we are going to go back and revisit with the town club to make sure that that's correct as well. So the best thing you can do is you can come and see us and give us your layout, and then we'll be able to tell you how many you can see it.
Okay, also just for Saturday, because he was a veteran, the ambulance said we can park.
Try to turn it on the bottom there.
Okay.
There you go.
All right, yeah, so that's fine. For anything that you're gonna do temporarily is one thing, but if you want to make it a yearly thing or a permanent thing, let's get together on the size. We'll work with you. No problem at all. Make it work. Okay. And thank you for letting us use that. Appreciate it.
Well, I think, yeah, I think the big thing too with COVID is, a lot of communities are shutting down roads, making them one ways to what have you, to allow businesses to succeed and survive. So, while I completely concur with Fire Chief's comments, and I don't know if the police chief has any comments or not, but I would ask that for motions to be made. I won't make another motion, Randy.
No, John, hey,
I'm
the
kidding.
floor is yours, man.
Is that we make it contingent with the plans of the fire chief, et cetera. But these are unusual times, so unusual times sometimes calls for unusual measures, is my thought process.
We'll get that done for you.
So your motion is
My motion-
upon review of the fire chief?
I would make a positive motion for the request, contingent on fire chief signing off on the number of people allowed in the area.
Okay. Thank you.
You already have a motion in a second.
I'm sorry, that's
Oh,
true.
yeah, I
Yep.
guess I
We
did.
got
I'm
Ralph
sorry
and
about that.
Colleen. I
Sorry
just saw
about-
that too.
I didn't write it down.
So we have a motion and a second on the floor. This is the discussion portion. Ralph, would you care to amend your motion?
I'll amend my motion to go along with the fire chief.
Thank you. Colleen, would you amend your second?
Sure. Go along with the fire chief.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? Roll call?
Robert Carnahan,
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben,
Yes.
Richard Sharp, Julia Rivera,
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer.
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Item 3 is ambulance bid. I'll start with, who do I want to start with here? Ms. Murph? And then I'll turn to the attorney for comments.
Council, in front of you is a memorandum of the bid opening that occurred last week for the ambulance bids. 2 bids were submitted, one from Fire Services, Inc., in the amount of $441,875, including a finance proposal with Rev Financial Services for a finance amount of the $441,875,000 with a $0 down payment. Term is 5 years with the first payment in arrears at a rate of 2.42%. Payments would be annual in the amount of $94,893.28. Your second bid was from North Central Emergency Vehicles, submitted their proposal for $428,961.30. They also included some alternative proposals as well. Their finance proposal was included from Republic First National for a finance amount of $440,301.80. They also included proposed payment rates for 3, 4, and 5 year terms. So to compare the apple to the apple, we went with the 5 year term First payment in arrears at a rate of 2.89%. Payments would be annual in the amount of $95,831.56. Jen also solicited her own finance quotes from Tax Exempt Leasing Corp. And Republic First National. Both were for 5-year terms and annual payments with the first payment in arrears. Tax Exempt Leasing Corp. Offered a rate of 2.49%, and Republic First National offered a rate of 2.95%.
Okay, thank you. That's a summary of the bid documents. Mr. Austin, have you reviewed all the documents?
Mr. President, council members, we have reviewed the bid documents that we provided. We reviewed exhaustively. Start this according to the bid specifications themselves. There were 10 specs, 72 pages of significant detailed criteria for consideration by bidders to guide us as a town. Nothing interesting all by itself. The bid review, the bid spec review gave us the distinct impression that those bid specs were for a single unit and were for a single ambulance to be delivered in operable condition to the town. As I learned this afternoon, as I was preparing for this meeting and gaining information, there was apparently within these specs some documentation or some intent that some of the materials, some of the equipment that was contained for bid purposes were duplicative of being available for a single vehicle. It occurred to us then that if we reviewed the bids against the specs, there were potentially inaccurate representation or inaccurate identification of what we were doing. And I say that if you haven't read those specs 4 or 5 times, spending a lot of time with that, but there are 2 vehicles involved in this, which appears to be the case. That isn't how we understood and read and reviewed. And the reason that's important is because the pricing that you received here, $418,000, $440,000, seemed excessively excessive for what a single ambulance would cost under our experiences. Not the only town I represent, it's not the only ambulance bid I've seen, and over the past handful of years I've seen some. What occurred to us that either the pricing was out of range, or there was some other reading of the bid specifications by the interested bidders, and we aren't matching what the intent was with what result. I could go into, I guess, a lot more, but there are 72 pages of specs and bid documents. Our recommendation, with all due respect, I know Todd's anxious, and the department's anxious. With all due respect, I'd like to look at them and give you information or precise fashion. Or alternatively, our recommendation is bids be rejected, clean them up, we get a vehicle, we have a second refurbishing plan, that there be a proper set of proposals for those. Clear.
Thank you. Would you hand the mic to Chief Wilkeny? The floor is yours, Chief.
When we spec this ambulance, we spec'd it equipped, and that's what we did. And the equipment that came with the ambulance, the extra cost is about $120,000 worth of equipment. We just didn't spec a bare bones ambulance. We spec'd it with equipment, which means a power cot, a new monitor, which is not uncommon to do. A lot of departments do it, and that's why we did it that way, because we need new monitors, 5 years old. we need a new power cot that's they're older and pretty much costing us a lot of money. And we also included a power loader for the other ambulance, so that we could retrofit that one rig as well. So this was an ambulance and equipment spec bid. And we announced it that way to begin with, an ambulance with equipment. And that's why the ambulance probably come around $300 and some thousand, and then there's another $120 some thousand with equipment. That's exactly how we did it. And we had 2 bidders come back. They're very close. I recommended one, but the service being closer. And if you guys want to break that out closer, or break it out in more detail, it's in the spec. It's totally up to you, but I'd like to see this ambulance move forward. And the equipment, because our monitors are shot. They need to replace them.
Chief, I have a couple questions, and I don't know if other council members will, but how much of this bid is equipment for other ambulances?
Just the power loader and one monitor.
So there's no duplication of the cots or any other things that could go into other ambulances?
No, there's just like I said, the power loader that will go into the other ambulance. And then, well, the other monitor will go into the other ambulance. We have 3 monitors, we have 3 ambulances. We want to replace 2 at the same time because they're full outdated. That's why we did this truck with the equipment and the extra equipment. Get it all under one fine.
Sometimes when people buy capital equipment, and this goes to Jill and to Jen, sometimes when people buy capital equipment, they buy additional items so they can write those off. Is there any breaks like that for municipalities? No section blah, blah, blah from the Indiana or from the federal codes or anything?
There's no fluff in this bid.
No, I'm not talking fluff. I'm talking, is there an advantage to not, Chief, totally 100% agree. I'm just wondering, is there an advantage to including this power cot and the power loader or what have you in with a new piece of capital equipment from a financial standpoint? That's my question. Do you know?
Not that I am aware of. If anything, I would say that SBOA might take, there might be an exception here. I mean, they might, you want to be clear
State Board
with
of Accounts.
everything. Yeah.
Okay.
It's clearly spelled out in the spec, where the equipment, what the equipment is for.
Right.
But it doesn't say that the second monitor, and I think that's what Dave's alluding to, is going to actually go into a different.
I think some of the confusion,
But it was an ambulance and equipment package.
I think some of the confusion might come in that when we had discussions about it in public meetings and in committee meetings, we talked about the purchase of new ambulance, and the estimates that we had at that time were somewhere between 300 and 330,000. And I assume that ambulance, a brand new ambulance, comes with equipment. So a brand new ambulance just comes with like a box?
Basic. That's why I always mentioned when we talked about bidding an ambulance, bid it with the equipment.
Because I mean, I was kind of shocked at the numbers myself, and it was a bit of sticker shock.
Randy, I mean, you can't
I understand.
I mean, they went up astronomically since we bought the last one in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
14, I think, 6 years old already, starting to rust. It's beat up. And our other ambulance, we have a 2006, a 2008, and a 2014 ambulance. These things don't stop running. This is not, we take in consideration that a fire truck will last us longer than ambulances, they wear out quickly. And so does the equipment. We've been borrowing a monitor from a company for 5 months just because one monitor we have is shot. And my EMS guys, my EMS coordinator here, our chief is here, and he'll test to how bad the equipment's got. And that's exactly why we bid this with the equipment. So because we absolutely need it.
So if the council decides to go with the North Central emergency vehicles, you're concerned about the maintenance of it? Who maintains the equipment now?
I just felt that for the difference in price, that the local bid was better because both ambulances were pretty much identical as far as quality. And that having to take the ambulance back and forth to Southern Illinois or Peoria, I think is where it's at, or
Why would you have to do that, chief? Take the ambulance back and
Because-
forth to Peoria?
ambulances are high maintenance and they're always in the shop.
But who works on them now?
Fire service works on our.
Did you buy every ambulance from fire service?
We bought 2 of the 3.
Okay. Did you buy every fire truck from fire service?
We bought 4 of our 8.
Okay, and they work on all of our equipment, right?
Yes, they do.
So why would that be any different with the North Central?
I don't know, I guess we'd have to ask them if they would service it, but I would say they wouldn't do any warranty work on it. You'd have to go back to North Central.
Do we know that for sure?
No, I have not asked fire service to
Okay.
warranty work on somebody else's. But there is a representative for fire service here. The other guy didn't make it, so if you want to ask him.
Well, any other questions or discussion on this matter before a motion is made to accept, deny, defer, whatever?
Chief, if we were to heed the advice of legal and reevaluate, rebid, what have you, break out the numbers for a couple of weeks, would that?
Nothing gets done in a couple weeks. This whole project took months,
Right.
so it's your guys' call. I mean,
Well, typically, we always make bids based on lowest prices, based off of all the bidders that we have here.
like I said, they're both
And,
very-
and since there's some questions in regards to whether it be power cots, new monitors, power loaders, et cetera, for additional pieces of equipment, and State Board of Accounts, how they would view it, et cetera. I get it. I mean, if you're gonna
Hey, John?
finance more equipment.
Before you make a motion, Jen, can I ask you what some of your reservations are with possible State Board of Account review of this sort of bid?
So what I'm thinking of is the original idea was the one ambulance and with the equipment for that ambulance, but now you have additional equipment. In my mind, it should be 2 separate bids. You should have the brand new ambulance that you're having outfitted with the necessary equipment for that, and then the additional equipment, and I don't know which equipment is for what, but when it comes to the total price we're talking about, in my mind, I'm thinking it should be 2 separate.
So in looking at numbers here, 95,000, and let's say if we went with the tax exempt leasing corp of a 2.49, that's obviously going to lower that a little bit, but what type of impact does that have on our future equipment purchases from a capital standpoint so will it be mostly CCD or some of it the ambulance non-reverting?
At this time, in my mind, I prepared CCD.
Okay.
Would handle 100% of it because the ambulance non-reverting fund cannot. There's no wiggle room in it. It doesn't have the support for.
Could it be split up so we don't hamper other purchases? I know we've got some equipment that needs to be replaced in the police department and other places as well that are going to draw on some CCD money.
We'd have to review the ambulance non-reverting fund because there are still obligations being made from the ambulance non-reverting.
So we're still
and-
paying old debt out of that?
Mhm.
Got it.
We still have a lease on the previous DFIBs that we're still
which is
paying
up in
on.
January.
Okay.
So your payment would be paid off by then.
But then we would have to go into probably get new DFIBs at that time too, right?
Well, no, I mean, if we went with this, that's what the monitors are, they're
Okay.
the same unit. But they'll be paid off in January before that payment, the first payment's even due. Also, our air packs are paid off, and also the ambulances are paid off. So that $94,000 payment becomes a $9,000 payment, with all those payments.
And how much debt service do we have annually on that ladder truck? Do you remember?
Just shy of 48,000.
Just shy of 48,000. And what's our total CCD collection?
And of course, I didn't bring that report with me.
I always hit you with these on the
Yeah.
spot things.
You know what? But I can see the folder on my desk right now with my approved with my approved CCD. I'm gonna guesstimate that we're right around 260, 270
So
is
between,
what CCD.
so between the ladder truck and this purchase would take up, roughly $140,000 a year of that CCD.
Mhm.
I thought the CCD was over 300 for some reason.
Right now, current cash balances, because we didn't move forward with end of 2019 projects that
Got
we
it.
have planned. We have not yet moved forward with the police vehicles
Got it.
that were discussed. There's a lot of things that we have not moved forward on yet. So we do have a healthy cash balance as of right now.
Okay. So then if we add in police vehicles to this, which is going to be mostly CCD.
Always CCD for
Yeah.
police vehicles.
So what's the, like if you got 4 vehicles, what would, so if they're, what are they, Carl, 30,000 a piece, once you outfit them, equip them?
Yeah, I think right around there when you add equipment.
So if you take 4 of those at 120,000, plus the financing, let's call it 140,000, divide that by 4, that comes out to what, about 35,000 a year on the CCD? That's pretty good quick math, isn't it?
It's not bad, right?
I went to Hanover.
Yeah, there you go. You must have played basketball.
Yes, I believe there's a lot of discussion to be had on the CCD funds and how we want to move forward with our equipment purchases, especially once we get down the ambulance. We know what that payment is. We had a few things come off this year, but we do have the 2019. From last year, we purchased the 3 vehicles, was it? It was 3 last year we purchased. So we've got 2 more years of payments for those police vehicles. Jill and I have kind of had a working document going on, but again, being that we've pushed off some of the planned projects, we're kind of in a weird spot where I think we all need to sit down and discuss how we do want to move forward, because besides public safety, I know Public Works also is going to be needing new vehicles in the future as well. And unfortunately with.
And we know
way-
that the fire department also needs other upgrades
Yes.
as well. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm having this conversation, is to try and get an idea of big picture, how everything fits into this.
So I would say this, I would say, Chief Todd, it has been a few months since we've had these bids, I believe, right?
No, it's 2 weeks.
Oh, it's only been 2 weeks. But with some of the comments from legal and some of the comments here, I would like to make a motion to defer to get a bit of clarification on the CCD, as well as the breakout of those numbers, if you could gather them for us. And if we so choose to finance it all together, so be it. If we don't, we don't. Are those quotes written as such?
John, can I add another question in there?
Yeah.
Our August 4th meeting, would we be able to come back then? Would we be able to come back if we're going to defer it? I don't want to be knocking, way down the road.
And nor do I.
Yeah,
I agree.
there's a motion on the
Okay,
floor
it-
to
it's-
defer.
Yeah, is 2 weeks enough time?
Should be a matter, we don't have the bids in front of us.
Depends on what you want to do, what you want to take out of that bid.
Those
Just
power
right
cots, monitors, as you call them, defibrillators.
Jen mentioned to bid it separately. I would like to have permission to do that right away so we can replace that monitor.
Yeah, so what Todd's saying is they still need the equipment.
Yeah.
But where we have questions is clarification of language, which, when you're audited, matters. We have some question marks as to
Right.
what money we have actually available. So kind of doing a debt service analysis.
No, what I'm doing is I'm just looking at a realistic time when we can come back.
Well, I'd like to try to make it August 7th by all means.
August
I-
4th.
Or August 4th, but I feel as though, I'm not
That's
sure
what I'm
how
saying,
this
though.
industry
Is
works.
that-
Can
Is
they
that
do
a
a-
legitimate number, Is,
Then before that, Mr. President.
You may. Can you pick up the mic, Todd, so everybody can hear you?
the issue I'm seeing is that if we don't get it all together, then probably you're not gonna see the other part of it, right away. And the problems we're currently having with our monitors, which are the defibrillators, by the way, we're gonna need them ASAP. That's why we bid it this way. You know, a new LifePak monitor is $33,000. And that's the monitor that we put on your chest that you 12 leads and monitor your heart and also to shock you back into rhythm. Those things are $33,000. The chest compressor that we have is another $20,000. Those are, you know, that's 50 some thousand, 60,000 some thousand dollars worth of equipment that we would have to bid separately. That if we did that, I'm not sure we would get the same rates or payment. So that's, like I said, that's why we put those additional in there to be able to equip that other rig. So, and I do understand that it does look confusing, but it's, you know, it's desperately needed equipment. This is medical equipment.
So I have a question, Chief. In the event that everything got ordered at once, do they expedite and or drop ship these other items quicker than the whole truck? Because doesn't the whole truck take 6 months?
Yeah, the truck will take a while, but the equipment we could get fairly quickly.
Okay.
And those payments, you know, that package payment is in the rear, so you wouldn't be paying on until next year anyway.
We have a motion on the table to defer by Mr. Foreman. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
There's a second by Mr. Miller. Are there questions or discussion on the motion?
Can we put it on the agenda for our next meeting again?
I would certainly hope so. I'd just like to break out the numbers so we can all are.
Well,
clear on the
a
same
deferral
page.
would automatically roll it to the next meeting.
Okay.
Ralph.
Okay. That's all.
And
I
the big
don't
thing-
want it.
And Ralph, the big thing about trying to get it, keep it on the hot plate, if you will, is the model year that we're in.
Yeah.
Pretty soon those ambulances roll into 2021 and we may or may not see a price increase. I don't know. I don't know this industry. But it could potentially be
Yeah,
such.
equipment typically increases in price every year, whether it's
This year might be a special
whether it's
year.
justified or not by manufacturers. They just do it because that's what they always do.
This might be a year though that a lot of municipalities don't have as much money because of COVID that we might
Yeah.
get a cost reduction. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. So
Would
there's a
hope.
motion and second on the floor. Any other questions or discussion on the motion? We'll take a roll call vote on to defer.
Robert Carnahan,
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben,
Yes.
Richard Sharp, Julia Rivera,
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer.
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Mr. Austin, can you please work diligently with the fire chief and town administrator and the clerk treasurer to make sure we get clarification? Jen, maybe we need to put together a committee meeting
I would agree.
to evaluate these funds, to make sure that Chief Welkening is involved in that committee meeting. It'd probably be a council affairs committee meeting. And that way we can come back with everybody on the same page, understanding the numbers, understanding the impact, and that way this decision can be made with data.
Absolutely.
And Chief, I note your need for equipment, and I don't argue with that at all. I think that you're 100% on the money with that. We look forward to making sure we got everything properly clarified and everybody on the same page. Thank you. Item 4 is Christopher Burke ecosystem proposal. Ms. Murray. Mr. Foreman.
You bet. Okay, so we had a ecosystem restoration consisting of myself, Ralph, Julie, as well as the other local committee members. And we met, what was it, Jill, a week and a half ago? And essentially what we're trying to look at is the feasibility of, we have the feasibility report from the Army Corps of Engineers. As we all know, the NER plan was essentially 12 million. The local plan, locally LPP we call it, locally preferred plan, was 22 million. And the financing of coming up with funds of such was a bit extreme. We also know that we have some serious things going on in our United States of America with the COVID virus, et cetera. Thus, we're all sitting here with Batman masks on. And so what we have done in the last 6 months is said, hey, in the event we approve the NER plan, we're gonna have to pay the Army Corps of Engineers $800,000. Okay, great. Where's that money gonna come from, et cetera? One thing that we know is 1 year ago today we received approval to make the feasibility report book, if you will, approved by the Army Corps of Engineers. In order to do anything to the lake, that's kind of a milestone piece of documentation. Since then, we've stepped back and said, hey, what about sustainability of the lake? Is it really about water quality? Is it about ecosystem, fish life, plant life, et cetera? So what we've been doing as a committee is trying to come up with a viable, focused restoration plan and ideal in the event we decided to go at it alone. Okay, what does that mean? That means that, hey, if we can do it for $3-4 million, why would we not? There's a lot of pieces of the puzzle starting to come together with development in our community and the surrounding area. We know that this project benefits more than just the residents of Cedar Lake. It's more of a grander picture for all of the Northwest Indiana area. So we're working with some folks that have dredged, and we do believe very firmly that the Corps was going to lean on some of these organizations that we are trying to team up with via Christopher Burke. Phase 1 would be a schedule proposed. It would kick off fairly quickly for a kickoff meeting with those organizations as well as the Eco Restoration Committee. Phase 2 would be a project that includes additional schedule plans taking us through 2022 and wetland delineations, revising some of the fish population surveys that the Corps has done. Water quality testing, the Corps hasn't really done a whole lot with our lake in the last at least decade, even though we're using old data. Where are we really today? And we have some very talented folks on the committee as well. Surveys and sediment measurements. We know one thing, in the last 10 years or 12 years since the Corps has started their project, every single time we have an overflow of the surrounding Cedar Lake Basin, mud, raw dirt, rocks, trees, you name it, come into our lake, thus making the lake less of a depth. We also have discussions pertaining to different approaches of how best to tackle it that we've discussed, not just with the Corps. The Corps has their plan, and this is what they recommend. But so we're trying to come up with a proof of concept for dredging and cover all of these items that I mentioned, as well as the pre-application meetings and regulatory agencies that we need to deal with, so that we can definitively say, this is what we think we can do it for, this is how much money we need, and we can go to the folks downstate at IDEM, we can go to the folks at NER, DNR, you name it, and possibly some large organizations, and ask for definitive amounts of money that we really can say it will be used for this lake project, et cetera. At that point in time, the next task 9 would be stakeholder engagement meetings, and then coordination and project management, all of which would be carried out in the next couple of years in order to get this very kind of unsafe this time of year lake safe, number one. Number two, done more affordably and quite honestly in a timely fashion. So that's what we've been discussing in recent weeks. And we've got some pricing within this. Jill, I think the price came up at what, $199,000 for everything I mentioned?
Yes.
Is that right, Bob?
Yes.
And
that sure beats 1.6 million or whatever.
800,000 just before we start talking.
Holy smoke.
So, and just so all the folks in the public also understand, as far as dredging or pulling some sediment out of the lake, we've also looked at long-term sustainability through bubblers and different types of things in the technology department today that maybe didn't exist not too many years ago, that will help create more oxygen to the bottom of the lake and get rid of some of the sediment and algae that does grow, the algae bloom. So we think that this is worthwhile endeavor to get something kicked off, and we feel as though pairing this with some of the other larger scale projects that we potentially could be having in our community would be a win-win for all of those involved. So that's essentially what this report has. Jill, would you like to add anything? Oh, yes. What I would propose is we are Cedar Lake. Cedar Lake is a stormwater runoff basin. A lot of the problems with Cedar Lake are from stormwater runoff. So I'd like to make this $199,000 come out of the stormwater fund is what I propose.
Okay.
And we discussed that at our committee meeting as well. I think it was pretty well received. And that's kind of my 2 cents on these 8 pages or 9 pages that we have in front of us.
Now, this fee estimate, task 1 through 10, this is going all the way into 2022, correct? So we're not paying the 199
Correct.
all in one lump sum. It's as it occurs.
That is right. And in addition, I would also like, and it doesn't need to be a part of this motion, but for our next meeting, when Mr. Viskowski was here we said to him, hey, look, we did not partake in the donation to the train South Shore extension because we have a big green lake that needs to be cleaned. And we're hoping that we could get your help, et cetera. I would also like to make some of those extra monies that we do have for CEDAT, County Economic Development Income Tax, in the rears, put into our eco restoration fund as well. But that, again, is separate from this. Jill, I'm not sure if you've formulated a plan for that or not. Okay, and that stems from the London Witty reports that we received last year. So that's where we're at on this subject matter. So yes.
So, question. My cousin lives on Lake Holiday in Lakes of the Four Seasons.
Nice.
They have those aerators in that lake. You see bubbles coming up everywhere. That lake is brilliantly clean, very nice lake.
It is.
People swim in it, boat in it. It's got a good color to it. Seems to be a very healthy lake for fishing. My cousin's son fishes almost every day and catches beautiful fish in that lake. So I hope that part of this discussion as you go forward is the inclusion of that technology
Absolutely.
for sustainability.
Absolutely, Randy. That's part of the
Because even that guy with
sustainability.
Everblue Lake said you'll probably need to dredge some first, anyways.
Right.
So looking at the dredging, then the sustainability, but also with that, John, I want to make sure that our consultants that we work with on economic development, Veritas,
Yep.
they can help with some of these. We have engagements with them on a few different projects now, economic development.
Right.
Part of any economic development agreement is a give and take with government and private entities. It's partnerships.
That's great.
If we can incorporate some of this into those engagements we already have with Veritas for an economic development discussion as some of what we're looking for out of our economic development partners, I think that would be great to incorporate them in these different tasks that you're doing in different phases. So we can make sure that as we go through the different steps of economic development with the partners we're working with,
Right.
that this is not lost and that the opportunity to gain private dollars to invest in the lake isn't lost as well.
100%. The economic development facet of this, Randy, is key. And having folks like Veritas know how to ask for it
They do.
legally and properly is part of this.
Yeah, they know how
Otherwise,
to
you don't have a
structure.
private-public partnership if you don't. And I think the time is now to engage some of these partners that are wanting to engage with us, if you will. The time is now, and it couldn't be better.
So
timing.
one of the best things to do would be maybe for you to send some of this information to Tim Jensen and Marlon Webb,
We can certainly do that.
to make sure that as they're having discussions with the current people we're engaged with
You
in
bet.
discussions,
You bet.
that this
them know
becomes a
what we're
part
up
of
to.
it.
You
Yeah,
bet. I'd be happy to.
yeah, that'd be
make that
great.
happen. In fact, I'll even go down to India on my own nickel to meet with them to do that.
Yeah, because I mean, they've been very, very meticulous in discussions with Carperi Canada
Okay,
in making sure that the interest of the community is served first and foremost.
you bet.
And which I'm very appreciative of because some of those discussions can get lost in the weeds pretty fast with very motivated business people as the folks in Canada are.
Yes.
And then with the other couple potential economic projects that we're working on in the preliminary stages, this is a great opportunity for us to extract some value from that on the front side.
Yeah, and I think, Randy, the best time to do something like that, and I'd be happy to invite him to the meeting,
Yeah.
would be at our engagement meeting where we all
Yeah.
get
The
together.
kickoff.
And do
Yeah.
our kickoff meeting.
Yeah, I would
Because
agree
that
with
way
that,
everybody's
John.
on the same starting block.
That would be great.
That would be huge.
Yep.
I'm okay with that.
What about the $800,000? Are we going to have to pay that to the Army Corps, or we
No, we won't.
bypass that?
If we do not sign the agreement, Bob, we will not have to pay it, because that means then that we are forfeiting the opportunity to get the federal grant for 11.8 million, of which we would be responsible for 20%. Okay. But if we forego that and go at it alone,
We'd be responsible for 50%.
the initial plan
Yeah.
was 80-20. The
But the-
feds,
but-
if
but-
we got it approved.
But
if
the
we got it
LPP
approved.
was going to be
Oh, the
essentially
LPP, we were
50-50.
responsible for 100% of that.
Yeah.
We were responsible for 10 more million on top of the 12.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would have been 10,800,000
So in your discussions,
plus the 20% of the 11.8.
given that this is a federally regulated waterway,
Right.
Cedar Lake,
Right.
the Army Corps still has to check off on any
We
project.
still need their permits.
The people that you're discussing this with and the consultants, are they confident that the Army Corps will check off on this project that's done 100% local, no matter how we raise the funds, whether it's with partnerships or what?
They are.
Will they check off on a project like this?
Yeah, their understanding is, and their belief is from working with them in the past on other lakes, is that whether we go into the core plan or not, it's all permitting process. You check the boxes and you get approval or you don't based on your data.
Okay.
So will we have to pay any of that 800,000?
No.
No.
So this is much more appealing
It
than
is.
what we were looking at last year.
Yeah.
Wow, much more realistic too. Very good work.
And Mr. Spencer and Mr. Pager, as well as Mr. Gross, that are a part of the committee, have done a super job of adding some very good logic. So as some of you know, Mr. Spencer spent his whole life in water treatment and water quality. so
And he's the one
a
who
fine
brought us,
asset.
he's the one who
up
brought us
Blue
Ever
Lakes.
Blue Lakes.
Yeah. And
That
so-
was part of his research, which was excellent. So
And I predict out of this $200,000 being spent, that the group will probably find that that type of technology is needed to be sustainable into the future.
it's great, good work. I appreciate seeing a realistic project here.
So we're getting
This
it.
is good.
One of these days, we won't be called the big green one anymore, Randy.
Jonas,
We
this
might
is
go
a,
swim in that lake, swallow the water.
this is something much more, I'm much more comfortable with what's put together here.
Yep.
And the fact that it's
Good.
broken out over a couple of years, this is much better. So what's the item for consideration then?
Council, I kindly ask that we make a motion for approval for the professional services proposed for this phase one preliminary design of the restoration of Cedar Lake.
Now, this number here of 199,000, that says fee estimate. So
Yes.
is this a not to exceed 199,000?
Jill, per our last meeting, I think you had a discussion with Kay. What was the outcome of that?
The outcome of that is this could be refined during our kickoff meeting. We did allow a little bit of contingency of $7,000 as prices will vary. But refining the scope during that kickoff meeting, so some of these prices could go down ultimately.
So could we do something?
Anything over 199, they would let us know. There was
Like, yeah, and where she's going with that is I said, hey, do we need a fish population survey? This is a sport lake. How many people are going to be driving from Michigan to go fishing here, right, for the weekend? So, and they did not want to change that. But as Jill mentioned, if we could do the plus or minus 7K, I'm good with a not to exceed.
Yeah, because then at least with a not to exceed, if it does go above 199,000, we have to have a new proposal in front of us with a
You bet, a
specific
reason.
scope.
You bet.
So is there a motion on the table for a not to exceed $199,000 amount for the scope as laid out?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Colleen, is there a second?
A second.
Second by Ms. Rivera. Are there questions or discussion on the motion? Yes. Okay, Ms. Sheben, would you amend your motion to include the payable from stormwater?
Yes. I would amend it to be payable from the stormwater and not to exceed 199,000.
Thank you. Ms. Rivera, do you concur?
Yes.
We have concurrence, motion and second. Any questions or discussion on the motion? When is the first payment payable? How is this going to be broken up? Is it going to be paid for per task?
It's going to be discussed at the kickoff meeting of the payment schedule, but I do believe Jill had discussions with Kay on that. You have your notes in front of you on that?
Will be billed monthly as various tasks are completed.
Okay,
Some of the tasks will overlap, so it's not like you're gonna finish task one and having a kickoff meeting without some other work. Starting,
You bet.
task two and task three kind of be defined a little bit. So similar to how we bill any other proposal or receive the invoices for work as that work is completed.
okay. Very good.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Robert Carnahan,
Yes.
Ron Foreman,
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben,
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
Julie Rivera. Yes. Randy Niemeyer.
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Excellent work, John.
It's not just me, it's the whole group, Randy, but I appreciate it. And guys, this could be the beginning of a clean Cedar Lake. So it's pretty huge for our community.
You've
And
over the
partners
last several years, you've been pushing pretty hard, and I've pushed back at you a couple times.
You bet.
And I'm glad that you went back to the drawing board, and we've been able to break down something that is realistic for our community.
Yeah, and that's what it's about.
It's awesome.
That's exactly what it's about.
Great job. Thanks to the committee too, Julie and Bob and Dan and Doug.
You bet.
You guys and
Over the
Bob,
years.
you guys did a great job.
Jill as well. She did. she's
Jill,
been
thank
doing
you.
Tons of work on this, nonstop.
Next, we have reports, town council reports. Bob, any council reports?
No, the chamber was going to, resurface and stripe the parking lot tomorrow, but due to the rain, they've rescheduled to shut the parking lot down on August the 10th and do it on August 11th. They're gonna seal coat the entire driveway. They're gonna patch, holes that are in the parking lot and stripe it.
Very good.
Any update on the census, Bob?
Still at 73.4%.
Wow. That's
Bob, did you
disappointing.
turn in your form?
I did it right away, John.
I just want to make sure.
You're not going to get them on that one.
Yeah.
And another thing, this Saturday, the chamber is going to shut down the chamber office. There's not going to be anybody there.
Okay.
Super. So people get to park for free?
That's right, because I don't want to jeopardize anybody's lives down there.
Well, they're having a Trump parade. So there's going to be a boat parade in support of our president. And people that don't have a boat are welcome to gather over there.
I see.
So that's what's taking place on Saturday.
I see. Thank you.
Thank you. And there has been some coordination of public safety for that event. It was organized by a private citizen. Obviously, we don't know what to expect with how many boats, what the weather will be, or if there will be protesters. So our people internally, as well as network of agencies, have been coordinating to make sure that we are prepared for whatever comes our way, and that whatever event happens is safe.
Good to know.
That's the main concern, is everybody, whoever's there, whether they are there in protest or there to celebrate, that everybody gets along and does it the right way.
Gotcha.
Council Affairs Committee, we did not meet. Jen, we do need to meet. We're getting into the budget formation season, and we talked about sitting down with all of our department heads, breaking some things down into that zero-based format. So these are some things we need to get an aggressive meeting schedule put together so we can start doing that.
I'll put out some dates tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. Ecosystem restoration, you just gave a
Yep, I
long
just went through
report.
that. Yep.
Street committee, did you guys meet?
Oh, yeah, we did. Absolutely.
Okay.
You want to go ahead and report? That'd be excellent. I'll chime in if need be, and or someone else from the committee.
The street committee met on the 14th. We discussed the closeout of Klein and Lakeshore Drive, so that project will be closing out. The update to the subdivision roadway plan update, we anticipate that the end of summer. The community crossing grant is out to bid right now. We anticipate having those bids Monday, August 3rd, with allowing you to review those and award on the 4th. We need to have the contracts in place with NDOT by the 17th of August so we can get that project moving forward. Highland subdivision was discussed and the need for some of the easements. This was one that you
That's probably going to
authorized.
defer another year, guys, because of easements with NIPSCO.
Yes, we're currently coordinating a meeting with NIPSCO to find out their timeline. We did find out one of the property owners in that area, we're having some difficulty reaching. 129th Avenue, US 41 to Parish. We discussed that project. That's one of the projects we were going to apply for this fall for community crossing funding. 133rd and King intersection improvement project. This was actually part of the RDC
Well,
meeting
originally
as
our
well.
129th, though, Jill, we were planning on trying to get it done this year, and our budget got whacked, right? By the state.
Well,
The NDOT fund got diminished by 2/3. So we will probably not be able to do that this year.
well, that would be part of the MBH funding. So there was some stormwater aspects to that project as well. So the funding wouldn't have all just been local roads. But that was one project we had on the radar. That would also tie into the NDOT US 41 and adding a turn lane heading northbound off of 129th.
But the turn lane is probably going to be a part of the US 41 NDOT project in 2022.
A portion of it, provided easements are
Yes.
obtained. They have 160 some easements to obtain on that project,
That's correct.
at least. 133rd and King intersection improvement project. So that's an RDC project that's adding an intersection and pedestrian crossing at Hanover High School. Sidewalk will be constructed going up to the school as part of that project. The easement was obtained for that project from them, as well as consideration and contribution from the school. The letter of intent agreement for that contribution of $27,000 is in front of the Hanover School Board. Streetlights, we discussed those as including those with some of our local projects. Don will be looking at some of the streetlights around the community when he's not reviewing all of our department stuff to see what ones we can relocate. There was a request, I updated Ralph on this earlier, 136th and Cedar. We did find out that one streetlight we had requested was installed this morning. So waiting for an update from NIPSCO. I got the update from the property owner who said NIPSCO was just there. Roadways and stormwater, having Don working on our roadways and being part of your stormwater board is proving to be very helpful as we look at these roadways and do those improvements. And we already discussed the NDOT US 41 project. We're also looking at areas, Fairbanks, Vermillion, as other projects to do with some of our local funds. We're also going to working with Jen and how much money is left in the 2017 A, B, and C bonds, and working with bond counsel and our local counsel to see if any money's left in those bonds that we could possibly amend those bond ordinances and use those funds for local road projects outside of the project areas that those were originally intended for. So that is a proposal I will work with David on and our local bond counsel to see if we can bring that back to you to extend that as Jen's finalizing the numbers coming out of those bonds now that we're about done with all of those projects. So another funding option for us as we were able to get the community crossing grant prepared. Bonded it. That's your street committee report.
If I can add something to that, it came from Art. Go ahead, Bob. I'll defer.
133rd and King is about a $400,000 project, and it will be an 80-20 match, and NDOT will select whoever gets to do that project, correct?
Correct.
Whoever wins the bid.
And Dan Pager was in the meeting, and Noble Oaks was discussed, and he stopped me the other day and he says, I'll loan you the money and then you can pay me back in 2 years.
Dan's in the room.
Oh, he is? Okay.
Well, on Noble Oaks, Bob, we also spoke of coming up with a fund to be able to put a Band-Aid on it since we don't have the ability to bond right now.
So if,
That was said, that's about 87% going to happen.
That is right.
so if I can add something from the RDC meeting last night, the discussion of adding a pedestrian lane to Moore Street was kicked around again.
Yeah.
The RDC is in support of utilizing some RDC funds to put together some of the preliminary engineering on something like that. We still have some homework to do on the parameters of that type of lane.
Okay.
Because there's Mr. Barloga and our town administrator had talked about some of the requirements to add a lane to an existing roadway or a planned roadway. There are examples of these lanes existing within roadways, like on 101st and White Oak at, what is that, Silverleaf there in St. John. There's also bike trails on numerous other roadways in Crown Point, right on the roadways. So we have to get some clarification on that. But we also talked about if we can't put a lane right on the roadway is to do a trail lane, which would be an asphalt lane like the biking and walking trail.
Separate from the road or connected?
Right, with a little berm in between, whatever with the requirements. So there's a lot of homework to be done yet, but the RDC is going to support some of that initial work. And then whenever we come up with that plan for a recreational trail like that included in our road, it would probably have to be a 100% funded by our park impact fee money.
And I think when we do that, it'll be a huge game changer.
It's the first
Getting
piece.
people walking to the town grounds and Lemon Lake, et cetera.
But it's also the first piece in getting that loop around the lake that everybody's always wanted.
Right, right.
Yep. So that's the first piece in that puzzle, but the RDC is in support of the project.
Good.
And we'll be working with the town council once we get some more clarification on what we have to do to make this work.
Yeah, because IDEM did not like the fact that we were only going to put it on one side as a part of that project.
You mean NDOT?
NDOT rather, because of pedestrians both walking on the same side of the road, creating a hazardous situation and no ADA accessibility and no markings, and it just went on and on. So was Don a part of that last night or no?
No, and some of that I would question also with NDOT because Morse is a local street, while NDOT is funding the actual street part of this through the community crossings. We're funding 100%. So this is going outside of that funding queue.
Don
so
said we would have to do something like
right.
that.
So that takes that out of NDOT's jurisdiction and puts it 100% local, but we still have to meet the ADA requirements and we still have to look at how much space we have there, if there needs to be any right of way required or anything like that. So there's a little bit of homework to do.
Fair enough.
If I can report on a couple other things and
Go
move
ahead.
into town administrator, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead while you're up there.
Park and Recreation Committee will be meeting this Friday. Backing up on the redevelopment commission, just to give you an update on the facade grants. To date, there have been 8 applications awarded, and as of July 15th, the total amount awarded has been $49,126.50. They had budgeted for $100,000. So if anyone out there in the business community has an application or a facade grant they are considering, please apply if you're within the TIF district. Your plan commission meetings are done for this month. You'll move into August meetings. Again, your council affairs scheduling for budget, utility board, we just closed that meeting, but we're working on
Jill,
scheduling.
can I back up to parks quick?
Sure.
Can you make sure in that committee meeting that Bartlett Wahlberg Park and the plan for that is discussed and we get something to present to the council as a foundational plan, because it looks great. Don't get me wrong. I love what was done there to clean it up. People love that area. It's an awesome one of the few public lakefront areas where you can sit and have a picnic and enjoy the lake. So I would definitely like us to look into some improvements to that park as well as the possibility of a public pier.
How are we doing on the ladder? I keep watching people when I'm parked on the lake, seeing people trying to climb up that wall. It's dangerous. If we could just
No.
get a ladder that we put up Memorial Day, get off Labor Day, what the
No.
DNR say no? Okay.
I'll
We need
review
a
that
ladder.
with the park committee and we'll make a recommendation
Okay.
to you.
But a
at your
public pier
next
at Bartlett
meeting.
Wahlberg would be great if we could work that out with the DNR.
I agree.
I've got that in my notes. So we will review those items.
But
Okay,
we still
go on
need a
with your-
ladder on the
I'm-
pier, Randy.
I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, that's pretty much all that I had for you this evening. So,
So for Public Works and Safety, earlier, Todd, I received an email from you on an invitation request for tomorrow evening. Is
Yeah,
that,
apparently, doing all the inviting for all these meetings
okay?
randomly. I have no idea how that happened.
Well, we had
I got a
to-
new Outlook program, or I got an updated one, so I don't even know. I can say it didn't come from me.
We had discussed putting together a committee meeting with you to follow up on some of these items that we've been continually talking about and working on. So is that something you want to look at maybe for next week, or
Yeah, I mean, that's fine, but like
Okay.
I said, I didn't schedule that meeting.
I just wanted to make sure that we were good.
Well, I
It's,
talked to Jill, and I'm like, I have no idea. We're gonna have a commission meeting tomorrow, but
thank you, Chief. Also, I wanted to report on the fire territory. We have a conference call scheduled for July 28th in the morning. To continue that discussion, we will be working on an initial scope of work to develop an engagement with a financial advisor to do our discovery phase, which is basically gathering all of our asset information and current revenue sources.
Good.
So we are making progress on that, albeit a little bit slower than we wanted. It's still moving forward. We also had a public safety committee meeting with Chief Fisher last week to discuss the staffing needs of his department with the passing of Corporal Wood and several other spots here in the near future that are going to open up. We're trying to put together a big picture strategy of recruiting some maybe new people to law enforcement, make it not the emergency hire, but looking at expanding our net as far as recruiting and the type of people that we're looking for. Maybe some younger folks that come in and still have a hunger for law enforcement that we can build and train. So it was a very productive meeting. We also talked about the needed equipment in the police department as well in that public safety meeting. So it was a productive meeting, and we will have further reports once some of those items are clearer and can be considered. Stormwater. I think we discussed all of that already, right?
Pretty much, a lot of the items we previously discussed, stormwater and council meetings are on the agenda being reviewed by
Okay.
Don, and next week is the stormwater.
All right, thank you. Town attorney, we have ordinance number 1352, which was deferred after last meeting. Emergency response billing, is there an update?
Yes, there is. I met with telephonic with Todd and Jill, who dealing with the county for our citizens.
Okay. Any other reports, Mr. Austin? Clerk Treasurer?
Nothing, just preparing for the 2021 budget. Tomorrow, council affairs members will receive an email from me. I'll suggest some dates for us to get together to discuss how we want to move forward.
Thank you. One other thing to comment on some meetings taking place tomorrow morning is the meeting here with the representatives of Hanover School Corporation, their building team, as well as our legal, myself, public safety, police and fire, kind of a pre-project coordination.
You bet.
And that way, everybody's on the same page as far as the process, what the expectations are, what needs to be done. So there's nothing on the back end that we're trying to redo or that we're wishing we did differently. So this is
I was
really
going to be the liaison from the Plan Commission. Unfortunately, I can't make it now.
Okay.
Rick, can you make it? 9, I think.
Yeah,
Or
9 o'clock
9:30?
here.
I think 9 a.m. If you can, that way you could give an update to the Plan Commissioners. I
Basically,
initially
what
said I would do it, and then something came up today. I got to run down south.
this is just trying to make sure that before the project kicks off, which is there's going to be several projects working concurrently,
Right.
that everybody has all the information they need, that there are no surprises from the administrative standpoint. There's always going to be surprises when you're building something. But as long as we can all have all the same information, be transparent with one another, this should go smoothly.
You got it.
Town Administrator, you gave your report. Director of Operations, you have a report? No report. Deputy Chief Brittingham?
I don't really have a report. Everybody knows, well aware that this weekend, Saturday, we closed. Parking alone is limited. I've been working with the coordinator, providing him as much information as possible. As far as parking goes, but I feel that no matter what we do, it's going to be a lot of traffic, a lot of congestion. With that being said, there's been a lot of concern in the town about climate protests. We currently do not have a confirmed hotel. They're watching. As you already mentioned, we are number of agencies respond accordingly. Ongoing parking dilemma issue. So we have to respond as well.
Do they know they can use our corner at Osborne and 133? It's
Yes.
town owned. Okay.
Yes. But, it's kind of, everybody wants to park closed.
Yeah.
And signs don't matter, and privacy, private property doesn't matter, so you have to have somebody there. And,
I have a question. Now, maybe some people might have several people with them to where they could launch a boat and somebody could go park their vehicle with the boat trailer somewhere else. Would parking be available here? Okay.
If you are a Facebook install.
I'm not on Facebook purposely.
You don't have a fake thing. So
No, I have
we
nothing.
did,
I'm
we have
oblivious to
part
it,
of
Todd.
And what I did is I could have showed it to you tonight, but if you know somebody that maybe go to this page on Facebook, you'll see what I gave them. I gave them a number of aerial images outlining the entire town, the lake parking, and provided them this space for
Okay.
vehicle trailer park. And they can do whatever they need to do to get out to their boat, and they can walk out.
Right.
Jump in.
It's not very deep.
So they got the marinas, they got this for parking, they know where they should and can't park. It's all been spelled out on their page. I'm just gonna hope that we'll be fine.
Okay.
And of course, we will be out there.
Okay.
We're gonna be out there first thing in the morning, traffic flowing. We did have a meeting, chamber was involved. Initially, we didn't know that they were gonna close and not charge for parking, which doesn't matter after 20 vehicles are run forward.
Yep.
But we're gonna make sure that traffic keeps moving. We can't have people sitting on the road waiting to launch their boat. Straight gridlock all the time.
All right, thank you.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Not a big deal. One other event is the Legion is having memorial service, if you will. It's going to also include a parade run. Also back in the town, so that's organized.
Be a, is going to be a busy weekend.
It's gonna be very busy.
Let's hope that everything goes off without a hitch and there's no violence or problems that we need to deal with.
For that, and, we will not tolerate.
Good. I appreciate that. Thank you. Chief Wilkening?
Just to give a little bit more on what Carl's saying about his fire department's doing the same thing. We're coordinating with other agencies, also overstaffing. We'll also have our boat and 3 other emergency boats on the lake from mutual aid areas. And our dive team standing by with the county boys. Just in case, somebody has too much fun. It goes over the board, the big green, so.
The big
I like
green.
that. I like that. That's a good word, man.
The first and last time I'll say. I appreciate the confidence in the race for myself. That just plays confidence in my folks that they can be next. It means a lot to me in the department to be considered for that. The ordinance I had somebody text me during the meetings that original ordinance didn't pass tonight. It was repealed. So I just wanted to clarify that original ordinance required to pass tonight. It repealed it.
All right, we have to repeal it before we can make space for the new code, essentially.
But somebody texted me during the meeting
Okay.
The medic that we thought we were going to lose contracted, stay with us now.
Good.
We'll be taking him off of probation and keeping him, we actually won one.
That's awesome. Great news.
So we'll be able to keep him now. He changed his mind, don't know why, but he did. And I was gonna comment on the invitation. If you do get invitations for me for somebody's meetings, please just respond to me directly and say, hey, are you?
I got a dinner invitation.
You did eventually, you did, but I don't know how that happened. I don't know what I did, but apparently, apparently I'm a magician with the new program, Frank did.
I say I got a dinner invitation, Todd.
It's so new that it's just.
The dinner invitation said that you were making me steak.
Yeah. You thought you got a lot of emails from me before you wake now. And then the last thing I was going to bring up. This is just a chamber of businesses. Please keep an eye on your businesses for social distancing. We did receive a complaint, and excise did reach out to the fire department in reference to a local business. So please keep an eye on. We don't have the staffing to go and check everybody's business and make sure everybody's 6 feet apart and wearing masks. This comes under the fire code as far as actually the jurisdiction of the fire department to make sure occupancy, like we were talking about with this month, is followed during this time it falls back at us again. So please try to get to that as closely as possible. And but our first public safety commission meeting, I was very glad that finally got that done over the years, and I do appreciate the council putting that together, and I think we're gonna have a great working relationship with our commission. It was a very positive meeting. They're very engaged, which is something that I think will help the council and fire department, police department, and all public safety moving forward to understand a little bit better where our needs and putting the needs and wants separated and making sure that we're doing everything that's needed to maintain the best quality we can. One of the first concerns, obviously, with the commission was salaries. So I think they're going to take a vested interest in it as hard as possible.
Good.
That's all I think.
Written communication.
Council, you have your building report through the end of June with 106 new home permits, with a residential value of just under 25 million. 252 alteration permits with a value of just over 3.1 million. Year to date, we have had 97 homes receive occupancy. We won't say Tim's had a lot of inspections to do over the past year. I won't even say month. The average home value is trending just above $235,000. So I just want to make you aware of that. Additionally, today we received 2 letter communications, which are in your packet regarding softball. One is from a Mary, and I apologize, I can't read her last name.
Bixman.
Thank you, Bob. And the other one from a Paulette Reichert.
So I spoke with Bob on the phone about Mrs. Bixman's issue. And evidently she has a loved one who is receiving at-home medical care. And it was reported that there were some either softballs or baseballs hitting her house last weekend. And it could be a danger to the person who is under medical care in her home. For that to continue, because if a window shatters and happens to hit the person that's in medical care, it could be catastrophic. So there's going to have to be some increased communication with the folks over there using the fields that they need to refrain from catching or throwing or hitting balls near people's homes. That's private property, and they need to keep the softballs and baseballs within the softball and baseball property.
I can reach out to my contacts with softball.
And I spoke with Paulette Reichert as well. And she has this basic concern that we've covered, speeding cars, people parking in front of people's driveways, not able to get their mail, not able to walk their dogs, the general stuff that we covered before. So
Yeah, I've gotten complaints on this as well.
we go to open public comment. Thank you for your patience this evening.
Mary Joan Dixon, 8711 West 132nd Place. About a year ago, there was a study done by our town engineer for the drainage off 132nd Place, Marquette, Truman Circle. And I was just wondering, I hope that that's on the drainage board list to accomplish. The study's already been done. We reviewed it at the drainage board meeting. Then it had to come to town council and spend about a year.
We haven't seen it yet.
Would you like me to
Jill,
get you, I'll send you a copy. I have a copy of it.
that would be great.
No problem.
Can I turn over to Jill? Are you finished, Mary Joan? You have more? Okay. Jill, can you come forward? Speak in the mic, please. Thank you, Mary Joan.
That was a project we had brought back to you. This stormwater board approved that as having you incorporate that with a larger subdivision project, and that is one of them. Don is reviewing with the subdivision review update that
But we haven't gotten
anticipate-
anything yet.
We don't
from
have
Storm.
anything. From Storm, yes, we had brought that back to you. And it was recommended to consider that
With-
as part of a larger project. There's more work that needed to be done, and that would be included with the larger project. So that is included in on Don's list of one of them we are including with that subdivision update plan that anticipates
Can we be
coming
sent
to you.
what Mary Joan has right now? Can
Yeah,
that
I
be
can-
forwarded
I
to
can
us
send
so
it to
we
you.
can all be up to
Absolutely.
speed? Okay, thank you. Any other public comment? Sir?
Good evening. I'm new in town. Well, I came from St. John.
Well, welcome.
My name is Richard Shmigelski.
You moved to the right place.
Oh, it's okay. Downsize, I guess.
I thought you were going to say you moved from Hawaii.
No. I'm going there next.
What's your name and address, sir?
My name is Richard Shmigelski. I live in 1396 Water Lane in Beacon Point.
Okay.
Okay. The only thing is, I met Tim last Friday with coming out there, and I see what you're trying to do is not a bad thing. The problem is, almost 6 weeks ago, without warning, they dug out between the back of my property to the front, the two homes, probably for drainage, whatever you're trying to accomplish. Okay, fine. Don't say nothing, nobody. Dig it up in 2 seconds, it's gone. It's going on 6 weeks. It's still sitting there. Those homes ain't cheap. That stuff's got to be put back. Somebody's got to communicate. It's either with the builder or with him, who's ever communicating to get the job done. If you're gonna dig it out, then put it back together right away. It's still sitting there, it's going on 6 weeks. I don't know what's taking so long. Who's at the process to get the job done? I called town hall, obviously. You know, everybody's you're all busy here doing 10 million things. One person don't understand what's going on there. And it's probably all his paperwork to handle with the town to try to straighten out what you gotta straighten out. But why is
Is it with McFarland?
Yeah.
Oh. Well,
Okay,
thank you for bringing that to
I'm
our
the
attention.
one, I'm the lucky one, okay?
Who lives
Because,
next door?
huh?
You're the lucky one who lives next door? You live next door to the hole?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the lucky one. Everybody stops and looks at it.
So did they dig a hole for a foundation? Is that what it was?
They dug that thing so deep, you could put a swimming pool in there. I could do a lap.
And it was McFarland that did that? Yeah,
Well,
so
I don't know.
Is it gonna be a basement? What is it gonna be?
Wait, the way they dug it deep enough, where you dug it so deep for the raw flow from the back where there's a sewer to the front where there's a sewer, I guess the drain out, whatever situation is, but they took it from house to house, from both houses, all the way back. I mean, there's nothing left. I'm retired now. All right, I don't give them a job. I retired because I
Yeah,
can.
I can tell you got the board
know,
shorts on, you're ready
Hey,
to go
listen,
swim,
I
you got
walk
the
every
line
day.
shirt.
Everybody in town here, they know who I am. I get the same.
I love it. I love it. You come here ready to relax.
Well,
It's good.
Well,
I like
anyhow,
people from St. John.
anyhow, what all things, I don't know. I understand some things as I walk around subdivisions, just getting a feel out here,
Yeah.
okay? But why it's dug so deep like that, down and back to front, I'm worried about, I got my air conditioner, everything sitting there. I want to make sure that all gets put back together right, for one. But why is it 6 weeks running and it's still sitting there like that?
I would like to turn the floor over to our Director of Operations and Building Commissioner,
And
Tim
no, I
Kubiak,
mean,
so
I'm
he
not
can,
happy to talk, great guy,
good.
all that, but I mean, it's.
We think the same.
You know, I mean, I told him I work part-time with him.
I guess the explanation of this is purely that McFarland did not do the grading properly and the home was built in the first place. So we have a pretty stiff guidelines. The way the subdivision is designed is the way that those as-built show that is done. In this case, there's an overland flow path where if storm sewers get plugged up, water can escape throughout the roadways and get to the detention areas without flooding people's houses. So it's a crucial place. It's got to be right on. McFarland did not pass their as-built bonds review because of this. So the 6 week time frame is 100% on McFarland Homes. They blame the town for not coming out and signing off on their grading. Unfortunately, there's numbers to grading. Everybody knows.
Either makes it or don't.
If the numbers are right, the numbers are right. Why they were waiting for us to come out and give them a blessing on something, it's beyond me, but somehow they related to their customers that it was the town's fault.
Oh, yeah.
We went out, had a meeting with Don just to confirm, since all these people called and were irate, we went out there, talked to him, talked to the other neighbors that had concerns, explained the situation. But the time frame, destroying their yards without any warning, the air conditioner, it's 100% on the builder, not anything to do with. All we're doing is making sure that is built exactly to the way it was supposed to, because we all know the stormwater problems that exist in this town. The new stuff does not have stormwater problems when it's approved. It's just the way it is.
And where are we at in the process of getting that remedied?
What's that?
The whole,
They should, Don approved, they had to do their fine-tune grading. They turned in a plan. They kind of dug it out and didn't even get it repaired. They turned in a plan that still wasn't good because they didn't have it final graded. So they are under the understanding that once they do get it final graded, they can put it back. So
is there a deadline to this
as far as the town's concerned?
as far as getting this thing remedied so this gentleman doesn't and other people don't have
Not
these
really. It's on
concerns?
them to get it done. That's a builder homeowner project. I
It's
mean,
been like 6 weeks.
right, I mean,
okay?
we don't have a deadline.
And
as far
that's what
as
he
that
paid.
6.
Well, his supervisor, I don't see Ron himself. In fact, I forgot what he looked like. And I closed on the house. I sat him for 5 minutes. All right. And then he was there that morning with a whole bunch of people there. Me and him talked for a while. They kept walking. We had a conversation for another 20 minutes about this whole thing. Okay. And that's all we get in the day one. And luckily I'm retired because I'm always out there. I'm bored. Okay. I got nothing
Are you
to
a
do.
builder?
Huh?
What'd you do for a living?
I worked for the post office.
Oh, okay.
3 years Navy, so I can get out, turn 60, take my pension, I'm bored. I gotta find something to do. My wife says, "What are you gonna do today?" Well, I told I've been an inspector with it part-time.
They
But
need help
anyhow-
washing fire trucks, I
Great.
think. Ambulances.
Anyhow, all considered, those homes ain't cheap when we
No.
built over there, okay? I think the McFarland Homes, I think it's a good constructed home, but I see what he builds over there. Because what I see, I'm not gonna go in all details, everything, and put other developers down, not here for that. But when that was dug out like that, if I wasn't home, the neighbor next door, who lives next door to me, she had no knowledge that they came to start digging out.
Can we make sure that,
Okay.
that is followed up on and they get this remedied as soon as possible?
We've done all we can do to expedite it now.
Well, so here's the problem. He's saying, he's gonna go put it back together, okay? Then he's gonna come back. Now, if it's not done right, we're gonna dig it up again.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Okay, so now.
There's only one right.
Well,
You're right.
and as a board, you had no knowledge yourself what I'm talking about, so I came forward.
No, these are all building department issues that don't,
It don't
you know,
filter.
right, we're the legislative and fiscal body, so we don't necessarily deal with all
Okay.
the day-to-day operation stuff.
All right.
So that all runs through our building department.
When he explained to me, I understand some of the stuff, I guess, but 6 weeks to this day, that ain't put back to better with those houses. That's unacceptable.
Yeah.
Just to
Yeah.
come dig it up and not put that house back, the whole thing back together. Was it be another 6, 7 weeks? And then they're gonna come dig it up again when he tells them that's not right. Somebody's gotta sit there, whatever regulations. If I get it, I'll look at it and put it back the first time for that thing for
Just
us.
to clarify, when he turned in his proposed site plan to build that home,
Right.
it showed exactly what needed to be done. It was approved by this town, put it in that
Well-
way. What he turned in after the home was built did not meet that
Well,
criteria. So it's nothing to do, all we're doing is assuring that it's done properly. And the McFarland people did say, as soon as they were gonna get this straightened out, so I would anticipate.
I mean, I'm the only house that ever they had to rip out the foundation.
Well, we appreciate you coming here. Hopefully we get it fixed
Okay.
quick and
Yep.
come to more meetings.
Well, they had to rip my foundation out before. When I built that, because the frame wouldn't go up the size of the house. And he gave me an option what I wanted to do. I kept the house. Now this.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, and now I'm just thinking, okay, and when he's been really great, because we talked for about 20 minutes.
Well, keep working with our building department on this. Keep us up to speed because this really doesn't fall under the
Well,
council's
I didn't know.
jurisdiction.
What,
That's okay.
Well, we're glad you came though.
I didn't know what meeting to go to.
It's good.
Okay.
You're always
We are
welcome.
happy to see you though.
Okay.
We want you to come back.
Well, thank you.
What is your name again?
My name is Mr. Smigelski.
Welcome to town.
Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate you.
Good to see you. A tough act to follow, Charlie.
Yeah, it is. Charlie K. Bray wanted to make an announcement from the chamber. Tomorrow we're having a ribbon cutting down at Brian's new remodeled plaza. We're starting all the way from Zip Foods and going all, not from Zips, but from the dollar store all the way down to the pallet. All those businesses are chamber members, so we're gonna have a mass ribbon cutting tomorrow at
Great.
11. So if any chamber members or any town council members are available, we'd love to have you down 11 o'clock tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Any public comment? Anything online, Jill? Okay. Our next town council meeting is Tuesday, August 4th at 7 PM. We hope everybody has a safe upcoming busy weekend. And this meeting is adjourned. We will have an